Welcome back everybody, my name is Tucker, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about my 3 favorite trades in the 2020 NBA draft, or draft night adjacent. There are 3 trades specifically that really stand out to me amongst a lot of them that really work out well for both teams. And ideally, that's what I'm looking for in a trade. That's the most fun thing for me to break down, is to see a scenario in which a trade works out both ways, and all 3 of these do for me. If you missed it, by the way, I did post a video earlier today being brutally honest about the 2020 NBA draft. So if you did miss that, it was way early, off schedule. It was in the wee hours of the morning Eastern time, so check that out if you missed it. But really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every day, and will throughout the entire NBA offseason, so it's a great place for consistent NBA content. Leaving a like rating on the video is also a great way that you can help me out, helps the channel out, gets the videos to more people, and lets me know that you're enjoying the content. Lastly, you can hang out with me on other social medias outside of YouTube. You can do that on Twitter, in the Discord, for which the link is in the description, and on Twitch, in which I stream 5 times per week, every single week. It is something that continues to grow day after day. If you haven't checked it out, I would recommend it. With all those things said, let's go and get into the trades. Okay, first up is a deal that actually happened a little bit before the draft itself started, but I'm going to include it here anyway, and I really like this trade for both sides. The Philadelphia 76ers received Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson in exchange for Al Horford, the 2nd pick owned by New York initially in the draft, and then the 2025 first-round pick as well that is, quote, lightly protected. That's all we know about it, a future first-round pick from Philadelphia. So first, let's talk about this if you are Oklahoma City. It's pretty clear at this point that they just want to stockpile as many draft assets as they possibly can, and they certainly continue to do that throughout the week. They're getting Al Horford, which, yes, they have to take on that contract. That's a significant thing for them to have to deal with moving forward, but they've been here before, right? Like, they've taken on a contract that people didn't like in exchange for draft compensation when we're talking about Chris Paul. And all they are trying to do is either move Horford this offseason or have him have a good year next year. And then when the contract isn't as bad, because they have the benefit of being able to wait a year, then they can flip Horford for more assets. It's the Chris Paul thing all over again. And this Oklahoma City roster right now is one that still looks good enough to allow players, maybe not to make the playoffs or anything, but to raise their trade value so that then they can get more assets out of them down the road. Now, it's going to be more difficult to do that with Horford than it was with Paul, because Paul is just simply a better player despite the contract being very large. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this be something that they continue to flip for more draft assets or young players down the road if Al Horford has a good season. Getting such a pick that's so far in the future in 2025 with light protections on it is obviously a huge deal as well. And they got an extra pick in the draft last night in the 2nd round as well. So all good things there for Oklahoma City. And they really didn't have to give up much for it either, as they traded away Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson. And you can continue to look at this as an extension of the Dennis Schroeder trade. They're getting Al Horford, the 2nd round pick, the future first, and the first they got from the Lakers, essentially, in exchange for Schroeder, as you're extending that to the Danny Green, Terrence Ferguson thing. Now, for Philadelphia, getting out from under this Al Horford contract, it cannot be overstated how big of a deal that is for them. They made some other moves, one of which we'll talk about later in this video, as well as Daryl Morey continues to try and reshape this roster. Getting out from under that contract, though, is a huge deal. The 2025 pick could end up being valuable down the road, but for the current day Sixers, that's really not that big of a deal. You're also getting a player in Danny Green that, assuming he shoots the ball well, can help this roster and can do some good things for them, and is an expiring contract to be used as an asset in a trade or simply as salary relief next offseason. And then Terrence Ferguson, who could still be something and is probably going to be a rotation player there in Philadelphia. So all good things all around for me here in this trade. Next up is, I would say, not necessarily the surprise move of the night, but certainly one that I did not see coming. And in this one, the Nets received Landry Shamet, the Clippers got Luke Kennard, and the Detroit Pistons got that 1st round pick that Brooklyn was holding on to, I believe was at number 19 via Philadelphia, and Rodney McGruder. So first, let's talk about this for the Nets and Clippers, and then we'll get to the Pistons, who I think are the most interesting part of this to break down. So for the Nets, it's just about getting shooting and getting a more proven player than they would have gotten with the 19th pick, right? Shamet didn't have a great year, with the Clippers, nothing crazy special, but someone that can shoot the ball, someone that moves well off the ball, and you add shooting. And again, a proven player that can be in your rotation, which there's no guarantee that would have been the case with, whatever selection they would have made at number 19 overall. So I like that move there for Brooklyn. For the Clippers, getting Luke Kennard, think it's a huge deal. I do. It adds them a little bit more, playmaking on the perimeter. As long as he can stay healthy, he can do some things on the ball if they need him to. And of course, you have that off-ball shooting as well from Luke Kennard that is going to be there. Again, you're hoping that this guy is going to stay healthy. I think that's the one thing that could cause them problems here in terms of value in exchange for someone in Shamet that, again, similar to the Nets, can be a rotation player and can do some things. But as long as Kennard is healthy, I think they got the best player in this deal, which certainly is always a good position to be in. For Detroit, however, I understand wanting to get young players. I understand the concept of getting first-round picks, right? And from a finance standpoint, it makes a lot of sense because Kennard is going to need a new contract soon. You don't really want to have to pay him if you're in the position that the Pistons are in, where you're not really close to being able to do much. And then you're getting a player on a rookie contract with this 19th pick. They can help you, do some things moving forward. And then Magruder is, also there. My problem here is I feel like in a vacuum, when you're not accounting for the financial aspect of this, Luke Kennard is worth more than the 19th pick in the draft. Yes, I understand the injury issues. I understand the problems there. But when healthy, he was good last year. And I feel like he is certainly a talented player and someone that is worth more than that in a vacuum. But at the end of the day, I think every team here is getting something that they need, and it's a pretty well-rounded trade. The Nets are getting a proven player that can shoot and can kind of put in that Joe Harris type mold. It seems like they're going to bring back Harris, but you can never have enough shooting, certainly on a team like this that is going to have a good amount of star power that they need to surround with shooting. For the Clippers, Kennard is a huge kid. I think as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a significant part of this roster as a playmaker and a shooter. And then the Pistons, we talked about the financial aspect of that, kind of trading out a player that's going to need a new contract soon for someone on a rookie deal, continue to add young talent there. So I think overall, it's a pretty good trade. And then last up is one that broke a little bit later in the draft, but I find really, really interesting. And it's another Sixers trade in which the Mavericks are getting Josh Richardson and the second round pick, via Atlanta in the 2020 draft, which I think was around 34 off the top of my head, in exchange for Seth Curry. And if this trade was made this time last year, you'd probably be surprised because, Josh Richardson presumably would have more value than Seth Curry, and then you're including the second round pick, so it makes it seem like, Curry is actually the one with higher value. But I think at the end of the day, this is just about fit for these two teams, right? I mean, Philadelphia has needed shooting for forever. They still do need shooting, and Seth Curry certainly can provide that as one of the better shooters in the entire league. And I'd imagine that Dallas really didn't want to part with him that much, but they were looking at their options. They were looking at the roster and thinking, we really need a two-way player. We need someone that can guard a little bit. Yeah, we're giving up shooting here, but Josh Richardson, we can get him to knock down some shots. We really need that versatility. We can't just rely on Dorian Finney-Smith as our one good defensive wing. And I really like the Josh Richardson addition there for them. I don't think they wanted to give up Seth Curry, and that's why the second round pick is going their way. But at the end of the day, I think this is an upgrade for both teams, just simply in terms of the needs of their roster. One team needed shooting, one team needed defense. They swap the two players, and they get what they need. Now, from a contract standpoint, Curry is signed longer term, but less money per year, whereas Richardson is on a shorter deal, but is owed $10 million in each of the next two seasons. So that will be an interesting thing to keep an eye on as the Sixers continue to progress and continue to raise their payroll year after year with Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris on max deals. Obviously, they move the Horford money. They get out of some financial stuff there, but it's always something to keep an eye on when you're adding years to your payroll that you weren't expecting to. But I really like that fit with each player in those respective spots, and those are my three favorite trades of draft night. Now, certainly there are other moves to talk about. We can talk about the Ricky Rubio deal. There are tons of movement up and down, and unfortunately, not as many, high picks traded as we would have hoped. We didn't have a trade for a long time there. I want to say that the Nets trade, or maybe one slightly before that, was the first pick that was traded of the entire night, which was certainly surprising, but a lot of interesting stuff happening here. We can certainly see trades throughout the rest of the week. Then we've got free agency stuff on Friday as well. Quick shout out here at the end of the video to everybody that did show up to the draft stream. It was an incredible success. I had a ton of fun. It was a really great time, and I can't be more thankful and grateful that many people were there to hang out with me on a completely different platform during the draft. And again, I really, really do appreciate it. And we're going to be doing the same thing as well, 6 p.m. Friday night for free agency as well. But with all this thing said, I appreciate all the love and support on the videos lately. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. And yeah, I'll see all you guys next time.